Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Book Club. It is October 8th, and we are currently reading our Hello Fears, and we are about to get started in Chapter 2. So today we have the awesome, fun Dana Holler as our host today. So take it away, Dana.
Okay, so I will be completely honest with you guys, as I always am when I am leading or sharing or anything. My goodness, I mean, for me was phenomenal. It is speaking exactly to where I have been at in my personal life for the last couple of years. And so I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. So I've been away for the last 2 weeks with some personal family stuff that has been very challenging and forgot my book at home. So I couldn't read any of it for the last 2 weeks. And I just got home. And so this morning picked it up. And when I signed up to do week 2, I had no idea what the title was, none whatsoever. So I opened my book this morning and I read both chapters this morning and I watched the chapter 1 video. And to open it up and go, chapter 2, Hello, Fearless Brave, How to Influence People Positively. I did a little snort, I'm not gonna lie. Now, some of you may not know this, but I actually used to be very negative. So for me to actually, this is what I find so funny and so 360, that I'm actually going to be leading this today on positivity. So cool how life throws us things sometimes, and definitely this is pushing me out of my comfort zone because I don't actually enjoy, and I think I've always just felt that I don't have a lot to say. In training wise, I definitely have a lot to say. But so opening this up today was just kind of so funny. So it was good to start my day off with a cute little laugh to myself. And then you start reading, right? And she talks about how she has avoided this particular fear. How many of us do that with the things that we don't want to do? We put it off till the last absolute positive second, and then we're forced into it. And then that even adds to the fear, right? Because now it's like, oh no, I have a short amount of time and now I really have to do it. For some of us, that might actually help get you motivated. My mom will tell you that she thinks I work best under pressure, which is leaving things to the last minute. Other people will tell you that I'm a planner and I like to have a list and I like to be able to go down and I like to check off. So that's what I like about this, is because it reminds me that, oh yeah, I have this in me, but I'm also a planner. So we have both of that in us, right? So I love how she gets in and just talks and just is real with us, right? Like she just shares where she's at. And so avoiding that particular fear, leaving it to the last day the place is going to close, and getting up there, and how she took people to support her, right? She took her husband and she took another friend. Now, yes, she took them for that moral support. And so when we're doing those things that are challenging us, are we taking along people that we know are going to lift us up and support us? Are we doing that in our business? Are we surrounding ourselves with the people that are going to cheer us on and help push us out of our comfort zone? So I like how she talks about just the fact that she is the feelings, right? The feelings she gets when she goes up, and that those are her triggers and reminders to herself, like, oh, I'm starting to feel this way. Where is this coming from? How she stood in the line for like 30 minutes. She waited. Oh my goodness. Have you guys ever waited to go down one of those 360 water slides? My heart just like palpitates the whole time. Well, did I do it? No, I did not. I got up there and looked down and was like, not a chance. However, I did do zip lining once. That was like a whole process of climbing up the mountain, knowing full well the whole time, the only way down is to zip line. And that was one thing that I was like, I'm doing this, but I had heart palpitations all the way up. all the way up, and it was a good hour and a half walk up. So I can totally relate to what she's saying here. And I don't know if y'all have had instances like that, but whew, when you finally get there and you're like, this is my only option. She could have walked down, right? She could have said, see you later, I'm gone. But she didn't. I couldn't do that either. I had no option to go down. The only way down was to get on that zip line cord and go. That's it. There was no other way. So first, you go first. How many times do we do that in our business too? We're like, oh, it's okay. I'll just watch you. I'll just support you. I'll just do this, right? And then the lifeguard's even like trying to get in on her indecisiveness. How many times is that not helpful or helpful, depending on who it is telling us these things, right? And I'm going to try to slow my conversation down because I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute now because I'm nervous. So what paralyzes you? She's talking about how the thought of just jumping is paralyzing her in fear. What paralyzes you guys in your business, in your personal life? How do you push through that? You want to take a step. She talks about that. But for some reason you physically can't. Has anybody ever experienced that? That physical, like I literally can't, I'm willing my body to move, but I literally cannot. The first few seconds of that zip line was definitely it for me. And I couldn't take myself off the zip line and let somebody else go first. I had no choice. Once you're on that zip cord, you got to go. Like, there's no turning back. And so I liked how she talked, how in those moments she's even reflecting back on to when she wanted to go in for a job and she didn't feel like she was able to go talk to her boss. That, you know, all the signs were like, go, Michelle, go, like, go, go, go. But she was just too petrified to go in there and ask for it. So are there things right now in your business that you are too petrified to ask for? Who can you go and ask? Who can you talk to? Depending on where you're at in your Tupperware journey, there are and we will be there cheering you on. So you have your sponsor, right? You have your managers, we have our business leaders. Like there are can go. Oh, the video is choppy. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm going to have to press on because my phone is my only option. Because my computer, I don't have an option there. So she talks about how she lets all these kids go. She says to her husband, done, like maybe I'm just gonna go. And he's like, no, he's trying to encourage her. And this little girl comes up, right? And she's like, oh my goodness, I don't know, looks over the edge and I don't know if I want to go. And so Michelle's like, woohoo, I've got somebody on my side, somebody else that doesn't want to do this, right? Somebody else that maybe now, if I have somebody on my side, maybe we don't have to do it, right? How many times do we go through that? Oh, yay, somebody else that doesn't want to do that? Great, let's jump on the bandwagon and let's not do this together. And to her amazement, that girl jumps off the cliff when she thinks that she's going to turn away. And she's like, what just happened? Oh no. And so she's like, oh, I am left by myself again, right? So this just made me laugh because I so know that feeling. I've been there. I have done that. I have tried to use that excuse. And when I don't have that excuse anymore, it's the kick in the pants that I need to get my butt going. So I love how real she is in how she talks to us and how she shares. And that is what we need to be for our team, for the people around us in Tupperware, to when we see somebody struggling, or when we see somebody just kind of not wanting to step out of their comfort zone, we need to be that person for them and go, hey, guess what? You can do this. And if we need to show them by example that they can do it, then we need to show them by example and do it. Like, get out of our comfort zones to be that example for somebody else. So yeah, I super love how she comes across in her experiences. I hope you guys are all feeling that too. And then she goes on to talk about if that gal could do it, she could do it. So she yells down, hey, start the cameras, starts to count. You know, we all do the 1, 2, 3 with our kids, right? And then we get to the 3 and we're like, oh, they're not doing it. Shoot. How about 3 again? And she's like, and 4. Oh, sometimes you need a 4, and then goes, right? And she does it. So did she like it? Absolutely not, she said. Sometimes we need to do things in order to know whether it is something that we actually like or don't like. That's half of our fear, I think, in things, is the unknown, which she also talks about. Unfortunately, she also talks about the fact that trying new things and getting out of our comfort zone does have those kind of results, right? She talks about how it was taking her, I'm sorry, I don't need to laugh at her pain, but I can so see myself doing this. You know, you're like in the middle of something, you're like, oh my goodness, this is taking forever. This is taking forever. Why is this taking forever? Am I underwater? Am I drowning? I can totally see all that going through my mind. And so she's like, maybe I'm drowning. Oh my goodness, I need to open my legs and get up to, and then she hits the water after that. Oh, poor her. I feel bad for her on that one. But I love, again, how she's sharing the reality of situations and sharing what the process is in her mind. Because a lot of issues with fear are things that we need to be aware of, how our self-talk is working. What is talk about, I think it was in chapter 1 as well. She talked about how different, the 7 core fears, right, that she has, how in some of them she responds differently to in other situations. So in one, her body might be doing one thing because it's not necessarily as huge of a fear for her as the other levels that maybe are a little bit more stressful for her. And then on page 39, she goes into talking about the difference between being fearless and brave. And I had never thought about this. So this was a huge eye-opener for me, because when I hear fearless, I never thought of it in this capacity before. It's like lacking fear. And I'm like, really? I guess when I say the word fearless, I get it mixed up with brave, right? And so I like how she has said fearless is lacking fear. Well, I don't lack fear, let me tell you. There are things that I don't want to do that I force myself to do because I know it's going to be for my betterment, for my team's betterment, for my family's betterment. So I definitely loved her definition of brave, showing courage. So you admit that you have fear, but you're showing courage because you're owning it, you're grabbing hold of it, and you're pushing through it. And so that is what I absolutely love. Now, I don't know if any of you guys saw the post that I did in early this morning. So as I was driving home from BC, and then I'm going to open it up to some discussion if anybody has anything up till now that they want to share, because there's so much in these chapters that I just don't want to miss out on you guys sharing. It's not all about me speaking. It's about me facilitating. But when I was coming home, I was listening to Francesca Battistelli. She is one of my favorite artists. There we go. She is very empowering. So she has this song called The Breakup Song. And these are some of the words. And as I was listening to it, I was like, oh my goodness, this so goes in line with all of what we are doing and looking through in this book. It says, fear you don't own me. There ain't no room in this story. I ain't got time for you telling me what I'm not. Like you know me, well, guess what? I know who I am. I know I am strong and I am free. I've got my own identity. So fear, you will never be welcome here. So that is not about saying that we're not going to have fear in our life. For me, what that is saying is when we're in those moments, we can look it dead in the eye and go, okay, I'm going to totally let you tell me who I am right now, that I'm a fraidy cat and I can go hide back in the closet. Or are we going to turn that around and go, guess what? I have a fear. Is it something that I need to challenge myself and push through? That's what that song means to me. And so I've had the last 18 months to kind of go through my own little cancer ordeal, and I'm fine. So just an FYI, nobody that knows that, I don't have cancer. But that song in the beginning was something that I listened to, because when you get that word, so many things go through your mind, right? And so that song just washed over me at that time and just, kind of helped me feel peace of, you know what? This is the unknown for me. I don't know what I'm walking through right now, but you know what? I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to seek the positive in it, and I'm going to move forward. Now that I know, because at that time I didn't know if I had it or didn't. Now that I know I don't, and I was listening to this on the way back, people, I am telling you, I did not know. If I had not gotten that diagnosis, I would never have had my surgery in March. I would never have been sitting in front of my TV board. I would never have been in Saskatchewan in January in the first place with my girlfriend. I would never have been at that party that I was asked to be at for Tupperware that I didn't want to be at. I would never have said yes to doing a party. So that to me, I was just like, oh my goodness, mind blowing when I was driving home from BC. So just had to share that with you. So many times we go through things that we are fearful of and we have no idea what's going to come of it. But I'm telling you, at some point it's going to link up and you are going to be mind blown with what all is encompassing. So enough about me. Hey, is there anybody on here who wants to share what so far has spoken to them out of just these first 3 pages? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I'll go. Good morning, guys. I'm right there with you, Dana. I loved page 39. Absolutely loved page 39 because I felt like so many times we label things that we don't want to do, but we see other people do. We say, oh, they do it because they're fearless. And that gives us an excuse not to do it because obviously they're not afraid of it. So they can do it. Oh yeah, that person can do that because they're not afraid of it. I can't do it because I am. And so I loved how she, explained the difference, and that pretty much, that takes your excuse away. No, that person probably is afraid of it, and does feel the fear, but they're brave enough to conquer that fear and continue on anyway. And that kind of basically gives us a challenge that, you have to challenge yourself then. If that person can do it in spite of their fear, then so can you. And a lot of times I feel this way too, because there are things that I do that come naturally that seem like they're, natural, and then I'm fearless about it. But in actuality, I'll go live, no problem. And there are people on my team that are deathly afraid of it. And they're like, oh, you make that look so easy and so fearless. I'm like, yeah, you don't see me 10 minutes before I go live trying to talk myself out of it. You don't see me, stressed out and going to throw up and no, I just got to do it anyway. So what we don't see sometimes is more powerful than what we do see. And I just love that. I was like, yes, I'm not fearless. I'm actually brave. I'm gonna latch onto that. And I'm a brave person. And from now on, I try to use that when people say, oh, well, I'm too afraid to do this, too afraid to do that. I'm like, no, I think you're a brave person for acknowledging that you're afraid to do it, and you're, willing to face it with me. I'll face it with you. So yeah, I loved that. Loved 39. And Dana, I'm just saying, from a person who knows that struggle. I'm so happy to hear your news today. so
It is that word can't. So that was something else that came. So you saying that is like, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna speak this then, because as I was driving home, so they taught. I can't remember the name of the gal. I'm sorry if you're on today. The gal that led the meeting last week. I'm so bad with names and memory. She talked about last week how, and also in the book, Michelle talked about how in the shower, right? Well, I get a lot of inspiration in the shower as well, but I also get it when I'm traveling between here, BC, or here in Saskatchewan for when I'm visiting friends and relatives. And I will just plunk in music and I will go. And I have started to take notes on my phone where I will hit the record button to a message to myself and just talk the message and end it so that I don't forget all these things that are coming up. One of them was the word can't. So when we were a kid, I don't know about you, but as a teenager, and I heard the word can't from my parents, that made me want to turn around and go and do it because I was a rebellious little turkey. So I know my kids have felt the same way at some point as well. So why is it though, when we speak that to ourselves, that gives us the excuse to not do it, right? I can't do that. Well, if our parents had told us we couldn't do it when we were younger, we totally would have turned around and done it. So what I'm saying is, don't use that can't as your excuse. That should actually be taken out of your vocabulary because we actually can do everything. When you say the word can't, you limit yourself, right? We limit ourselves in the ability of what we're able to do. And that's entirely what this is about. What her book is about is you can do anything. It's what is going on through your head. So we're going to move on a little bit. So I loved how she talked about the difference between that we aren't fearless or fearful, that we're just human when we experience those things, right? Like everybody has moments that they're lacking in fear, that they're fearful, or that we are brave. And so when you turn the page and go on to page 40, she also talks about here where it's very personal, right? Like what I deem fearful, like what I deem things for me scary, right, aren't going to be what you guys all deem scary for yourselves or that you're afraid of. And so it is a personal thing. Therefore, when we are dealing in those situations, every situation is going to have a different way, an outcome that's going to make you want to go and do those things. So like motivators is, I guess, the word I'm trying to look for. So she talks about the fear of embarrassment. Yeah, I don't have that. I actually used to have that, and now I actually use it as a way to connect with people. Because honestly, if I can use my embarrassment to make somebody else laugh and have a good chuckle, then I'm going to do that. It makes you relatable. And, that's why I go live in some of my parties, is because if they see that I can't use a product, but then I can in 2 seconds turn it around and show them actually how to use it, then they're like, oh, okay. If she can do it, and yeah, she goofed up first, but now she's got it, then great. Maybe I can do that too. That's why I used the can opener, because a 2-year-old used it. And I thought, oh my goodness, seriously, a 2-year-old can use it. So now I can. So I love how she talks about that the fear of embarrassment reminds us to double check our spelling before sending an important email, which sometimes they don't do. But also that those are things that just keep us on track with things. She also then goes on to talk about, I didn't highlight anything on this page, and now I'm like wishing I had, because now I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's some good stuff on this page. So she talks about how she feels that her own courage is being underestimated when people talk to her and say how fearless they think she is, because they're using fearless in instead of courageous, right? And so I like that, how I just love the difference in that. She was not fearless the day she jumped off that cliff, right? She was totally fearful. I'm not fearless right now. My stomach is up in my throat. I want to vomit right at this moment doing this for you guys, to be quite honest and frank. But we're pushing through that. We are being brave. That's why I said I'm going to bravely lead you this morning, because this is freaking me out. Also with internet issues, I don't like that either. But I am pushing forward, and we're going to get through this chapter together. So why is it that people want us to be fearless? Why is it that people, because to me, that just makes it unattainable for anybody. Like, that's not reality, right? Like, nobody has no fear of nothing. So in that regard, I get where she's coming from, where she wants to be known as brave, because brave is pushing through that fear. So makes you more relatable versus fearless, because that is not a reality in any form of life. Like, not. I love her definition. Being brave is when, despite the fear, we have the courage to take action, and that is way more powerful and inspiring than being fearless. All that is basically this chapter in a nutshell. And when I turned the next page, I was like, oh no, there was homework and I didn't do it. Shoot. I read the next page, and because I am a rule follower, I do like to have things ahead of time. But this is where I can't let that kind of personality in myself overpower the living right now. I can't be so concerned with what I should be doing versus what I am, and therefore using that as an excuse not to even do it. So I actually did do the homework. Did I get responses back yet? No, I did not, but I did the homework. And I will be waiting for those responses from my two friends, that just to get their opinions, right? Because oftentimes we see ourselves totally different than the way other people can see us. And like the persona, I shouldn't say persona, because really what you see with me is what you get. But what I think I'm portraying can be something completely different than what you are actually seeing. And so I always think it's great to get feedback from those that are closest to you, that will be honest with you and don't mind pushing you out of your comfort zone and challenging you to go forward, right? That's why it's great when we have our team members like that, we get to know them, because we will get to know where we can push, where we can't, all the different boundaries that they put up, but maybe try to even lean them a little bit more. And we lead by example, right? If we're willing to show them that we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone into the courageous zone, then they see us doing that. And then when we ask them to do that, then they're like, okay, I see her doing that. So, okay, then maybe I'll go ahead, right? But if we're telling them to do stuff that we're not even willing to do, kind of doesn't fly with me as a leader, but also as a person. My parents were, I'll just share a little tidbit about that. My parents are drinkers and were smokers. They always said to me growing up, don't drink, don't smoke. Okay, well, if you don't want me to drink and not smoke, then you shouldn't be doing it either, right? So those are the tangibles that I'm talking about. That was my, for instance. I don't drink and I don't smoke, but that's my own preference. It's not because they told me not to. And that's one instance where I didn't turn around and go do it because they told me not to, because I was like, ew, not for me. But that's just to get a point across of an example of what that would look like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what my friends will say in regards to the areas of my life where I'm fearless, fearful, and brave. So did anybody do that exercise and get feedback from, and were they surprised by what answers they got back? And if you didn't, that's okay.
I was actually surprised, not so much from my friends, but from my family. I asked, I have grown-up children, and so I asked two of them, and I was actually kind of surprised that the people that know me best really kind of didn't know me the way I thought I knew me. Because when I asked them, well, what do you think that I'm fearful of course, they're coming up with all the funny things that they tease me about being afraid of, like jumping bugs and stuff like that. But but what I was fearless of is something that I know personally that I'm actually brave about, and that's public speaking, about stepping into leadership roles, that type of thing. And what they thought I was fearless about was those things. So I was like, well, so then I had to really think about it. Obviously, I'm not showing that these are things that I struggle with, and these are things that I'm, that I have fears about. So yeah, it was interesting. But my friends kind of hit it right on the head, what I felt there was, but it was my family that was like, oh no, yeah, we don't see you fearful of this and the other thing. I'm like, my family's not paying attention to me. So,
I wonder
yeah.
if sometimes too with family, I wonder, because there's different ways, right? We have our friends, we have our Tupperware business, we have our families. There's different compartments, right? And so there's different situations that we're in with each of those groups as well. And so I wonder if in some ways they maybe don't see some of that because those opportunities haven't arisen, right? But the other thing about that is, this is a great opportunity to use to have conversations with your friends and for you guys to have, and family, right? To be able to have those conversations and go, oh, I totally feel like I'm struggling with this, this, and this, and just have more awareness together, right? And so I always like anything that will help there to be more authentic communication and more reality sharing of who you are. So thank you for sharing, Connie. I'm super, I like hearing how people are reacting to this chapter and what they're learning. And even if you haven't read it, that's okay, because being on here is great to be able to be a part of the community that we have through book club, right? And to be able to share, sorry, now you're gonna hear my phone, share through our experiences and learn from those and grow. So, okay, so then it talks on page 43. Yeah, the difference between growing up between a guy and a girl, right? And what society puts on us as women and as men. And so very interesting how she talks about as women and girls growing up, that it's okay for us to share emotion. It's okay for us to say we're scared, because, then the guy who's not allowed to be like that can come along and us for sorry, there we go. I think we have grown up in that and we're getting out of that, thankfully. I think we are now raising our boys to know that it's okay to own your feelings, own where you're at, to be fearful of things. And that it's okay for women to be strong, that it's okay for us to know who we are and to stand firm in that and be okay with that, that we can still admit that we have fears and whatever, but that's not a negative that we need to be rescued from, right? That we have that capability within us to be able to do that on our own. And it's really all about how we are self-talking ourselves, and being aware of what is going on through conversation in our own head, as well as the triggers in our body that show us like what the heck is going on. Like, our bodies work in that way to allow us to be able to go, oh, I'm feeling this, so maybe I need to look at that and see why. So I like how she talks about that. She talks about the boys. If she were a boy, she would have been bullied, right? And I know all of that conversation is coming up now for the kids that we are raising. I know it really came out when my girls were in school, and it's coming out even more now. And so I like the conversation starters. When we have conversation about things, that's where change can happen. And so I like how she is so willing to be upfront with all of these different topics of conversation that maybe are a little bit politically incorrect, like not acceptable. I don't know why, because I'm one of those, if you can speak it, then it should be okay to talk about. Let's see. So I'm on page 44, looking at how she then talks about the fact that the advertising campaigns, right? Where it's allowing, so the media is now getting on board also with being able to enforce that we can be strong, that we can show every aspect of who we are, and it's okay. There's no negativity to it, that we can do well and succeed and not be called the B word or any of those other terms that have been in the past associated with strong working women, right? Now, I do know that we have men in top of the line, and I'm super pumped about that because guess what? They're doing in Tupperware what women are also trying to do in other fields too, right? Tupperware has been primarily a female led area. And, you know, when the stereotype in the past could have been seen as, oh, there's a guy doing Tupperware. What's wrong with them, right? Nothing. They are doing exactly what us women want to do everywhere else, right? They are trying to make a living. They are trying to support their family. They're trying to support them. So why can a man not do Tupperware? They can. And so although I know that Michelle is so promoting women, and I am all for that, I also want to say that the men in Tupperware, they're doing it's so the opposite of where we were trying to get into other fields as well. So I want them to see that this book is for them as well, because they can also have fears going into a women dominated field, just like women can have going into a male dominated field, right? And that all those fears are just things, obstacles to overcome and push through. So then she talks about how on page 45, she gets back to the gal again in regards to jumping off. Did the gal whisper any sweet nothings in her ear to tell her, hey, you can do this? No, she just went and did it. She showed her by action. She showed her by, like, I'm looking down, you saw my face of pure like fear, but I didn't turn around and walk away. I just completely jumped off. And so she's like, sometimes it just takes action, right? Sometimes we just need to see somebody else go and do it and not just hear about it. That is why I love all our different groups that we have, and where we can share, right? If we don't share our experiences, people learn in different ways. Some people will learn by watching this. Some people will learn stuff by reading. Some people will learn by seeing posts in the different groups, right? And so that's what I love about all the different ways that we are unique individuals, because we all learn in different ways and we all have different ways of sharing. So when we have something, we need to put it out there. We need to put it out there and share, because as a director, maybe my managers will get something way better from what you guys are saying out in those groups than they might from me, right? So that is what I love, that we really can work together in this business. We really can unite, and we can come out strong and build stronger teams because we're working it together and we're there for each other. We're not competing against each other. We are not. We are here to build each other up. We are here to create a strong team and help everybody to get to wherever it is that we are or want to be and work together. So she talks about influencers. So again, when I read this, I was like, I'm so not that. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, I am so that. I am that, dang it. And, you know, like, I was actually very empowered by this part. Because like I said in the beginning, I don't feel like I have a lot to say that is out there for the betterment of people. I can talk for an hour over a dog out there licking a stone, I guess. I don't know. But I just, you know, when it comes to building up people, that is really what I want to do. And so when it talks about this, I was like, oh, I so get to do that this morning. I'm so excited. So yeah. So yeah, she just talks about she's the person who has the ability to positively influence the behavior or opinions of others, either online or offline. That's the bottom of page 46. Because she was referring to somebody telling her that she wasn't an influencer. And she's like, what? I totally am an influencer. But again, I think that's because there's wrong definitions out there that we're all working by, right? Like if we were all on the same page with the same definitions of things, I think it would be seen a lot differently. So when she says it like that, positively influencing the behavior or opinions of others. So how do we do that in our business every day? Seriously, we should be doing that every day in our business. Every day. And not even just in our business, in our lives, right? Like, who doesn't want to positively influence your kids? Who doesn't want to positively influence your friends, right? How are we doing that in those ways? How are we doing that in our business? Are we uplifting our team members? Are we uplifting those around us? What are we doing and saying that is going to accomplish that to help us be an influence in their lives? Who's doing that for you? Who is doing that for you guys? Do you let them know, hey, just wanted to let you know, like, you totally did this for me today, and you need to know that you influenced my life in a positive way? Because that's also a way to uplift that person, by letting them know. We don't do things for that recognition. We don't. When we do things, we do it because it's out of the kindness of our heart, right? But when we see somebody that has done that for us, we need to reach out and tell them that, because that is actually huge for them. And then they can maybe see themselves in a different light. She talks about how she wasn't born an influencer. Totally understand that myself. She became one early on in life. And so she talks also then about, okay, so this is what I did highlight on page 46. I mean, I really could have highlighted the whole chapter, to be honest. And I better keep my eye on the clock here, because I think we have a few more pages and I'm nowhere near being done. Oh no, I guess we're about halfway through. What I did highlight was where she talks about halfway through, where she talks about the people that influenced her life. She calls it everyday leadership. You don't need to have a certain title or award or following to be intentional when it comes to influencing those that you care about and beyond. But sadly, not everyone is willing to share their knowledge. Could it be because we don't feel like we're worthy enough to share that knowledge? Could it be because we feel like we don't have anything to share that anybody else would care to hear? I know I've totally felt that way about myself, right? As I was just sharing. She goes, some people don't trust their worth. And that's exactly what somebody said in the chat. It's exactly that. I didn't see my worth. I didn't see it. And it comes to me, I do know my worth now. This has been something that I have walked a path on probably for the last 5-ish years, coming to terms with who I am and being okay with that and knowing that what I have is of value to other people. But when I walk into a new situation, like Tupperware is very new for me, only working the business, since April, that is a stressful situation for me. It's a new situation. And that's where some of the old fears pop up of acceptance, of, really, I don't have what it takes. All of those kind of things bubble up. And it's like, okay, this is where that song then comes in. You know what, fear? I'm going to tumble through this. I'm going to recognize that I am fearful of it, but I'm going to power through, and we're going to stumble. I'm not going to stumble over you. I'm going to crush you, and I'm going to throw you to the side, kick you to the curb. So if you are feeling like you don't have value, that is so wrong. You all have value. You all have strengths. And you need to share them wherever you possibly can, so that those of us that don't have those strengths or are needing some encouragement in those areas, we can learn from you, right? So that's what I love about the fact that we, oh no. Just a second.
We can still hear you. We just can't see you.
And there we go. Oh my word.
You're
Ooh,
good.
that was scary. This is the problem with doing it on my phone. You tap one thing and you're out. Sorry about that, people. That's another one of my fears. Totally making a fool out of myself while I'm being taped. Hello, me. Anyway, we're all good. So then on 47, this is again, be real. Totally timing wise perfect, right? It's what makes you relatable and approachable. And that's why showing courage in a way is more powerful than portraying a lack of fear. That is what being vulnerable is all about. And it's my personal superpower. I love being, this is why I will do this. I will step out of my comfort zone. I will show you all the inadequacies. I will show you all of the, oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened. Because I want you to relate to me. Because I want my customers to know that they can reach out with anything and talk to me about anything, that they can do anything. I want my team to know that no matter what, I have probably been through a lot of what they've been through, and I want them to be able to come and chat with me about it. Not just work. I want to get to know my team on a real level, right? There are so many things. If people know you are being fake, if people can sense that. People can sense if you are not being genuine. I'm telling you that right now. We all know those people, right? They're like, hi, how are you? And you're like, your eyes don't match your face, right? Like we know those people, right? We do. And we know the ones that when they are like, hey, how are you? We know those ones are real. So we can tell. Do people want to be around people that are putting on a facade? In your parties, in your dealings with people in your community, are they going to want to deal with somebody that they think is putting on a facade for them? No, they're not. So this is hugely powerful in regards to our businesses. We need to be authentic in that. We need to be real and we need to be upfront. If we at all show our customers, our team members, the people in our community that we are not authentic, that we are not, real with them, they're going to back out so fast. It is not even funny. Do we need to own our faults? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we need to be real with that and just say, you know what, I screwed up here. This is my bad, and go from there. Right? Because that is life. That is life. We can't just hide things under a carpet. That we know that does not work, right? It always comes back to bite you in the butt. So don't do it. Be real with people. Own it. Let your video fall. Do whatever. Like, be real. Without fear, there cannot be courage. I love that. Embrace your fear. Embrace your fears. Embrace them. Bowl through them. Be courageous in what you're doing. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking again. And anybody want to jump on and say anything about those couple of pages? We only have a couple more, and then we're done. We're doing good for timing too.
I'm going to chime in. Face the fear and do it anyway.
Hear you.
Oh, really? Am I muted?
Can anybody hear me? Or is it just me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just me. Go ahead.
Sorry. I once upon a time was afraid of absolutely everything, and I just hung out in my comfort zone. And about 25 years ago, a good companion book for this one, I got a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And what I've learned is that the rewards in life are on the other side of fear, and that the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. So we make up all this crap in our heads and it stops us. So you really have to exercise your courage on a daily basis, because as you face those fears and you overcome them, no matter how tiny they might be, it gives you the courage to face the next fear and then the next fear. And that it's helped me to experience so much more in life. It got me on a roller coaster with my son, and I wasn't happy about it. But now I love riding roller coasters. It just exercise that fear and do it. Nobody else is judging you when you go live. When you're leading one of these things, I know that was one of my latest fears, going live and talking to people, is that nobody's really judging you. They're like cheering you on and they want to hear what you say. So I salute you gals for doing what you do and being an inspiration to me. Thanks.
Thanks so much for sharing, Angela. I did figure out I can hear you now. That was awesome. So I loved what you had to say about facing your fear of roller coasters. And guess what? And you found out you liked them, right? If we're never going to know if we like something until we branch out. Is there someone else that wanted to pop on and share?
I'm just going to interrupt. So this is the second time that I've watched one of your live, and I have to tell you exactly what you're telling us. You inspired me. And I just want to say that I haven't even read the book yet, but I decided I would pop in anyway because I wanted to hear what you have to say. It's been a crap day, crap morning, but I just thank you. Thank you. That's all I just wanted to say. Thanks.
Thanks. No, you know what? It really wouldn't be a video with me in it if I weren't crying. So, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That was really sweet of you. And really, that's why I'm doing this, right? This is why I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, because it is really important to me to actually speak into women's lives. And in general, in anybody's life. That is really one of the reasons why I do everything that I do, is to be able to be an uplifting person for other people. Not that I don't have my time, because I do. I totally have my negative times, but because we all have those, right? But thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, now I'm going to try to get rid of this almost ugly cry. So I love this quote on 48, right? The world needs your value. That's exactly what I was just talking about. Like, we all have stuff to share. And so we need to find out what that is and share it. So if you are good at something, if you are remotely doing something that somebody has said, hey, that was awesome, share it. Share it. People need to hear that.
Dana, can I chime in real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
But conversely, if there is something that you're terrible at and you want to get better at it, share it. Because there's somebody who's bad at it and wants to get good at it too. So do it with them.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that is a huge, great point, right? That's where we need to admit, it's okay to admit where we need to grow, right? We need to look at those as growing areas, not as negative areas. Everybody has an area in their life that they're like, I need more information on this. I would like to do better here. What can I do? And that's another great thing about Top of the Line. There is a wealth of information there, right? Like, this book is definitely starting some awesome conversations for those of us that are here. So when you are getting off of these moments, you need, whatever you are picking out, whatever is coming to you, you want to share those in Top of the Line afterwards, because those are going to encourage other people to possibly pop on next month, right? State, hey, I've never read the book. This is what I learned today. Oh my goodness, you don't actually have to have read the book to get something out of book club, right? Because hopefully it will encourage you to then get the book and actually read it all, right? So whatever you are learning, share it, because there is going to be somebody out there that's going to need to hear it. So I love that. Thank you for saying that. Yes, we need to share our challenging areas for sure. So yeah, we need to be encouraging other people to be courageous, to step out of their comfort zone. As a leader, I have a challenge going on with my team right now that is so stepping them all out of their comfort zones. And they are pushing back, but they are doing it in a way that, you know, it's just providing great conversation of like, hey, really, what is your fear here though? Like, is it that, like, you can totally do this. I know that you can do this. So these are not things to be, you know, I can share the challenge. I got, actually, you can look it up in the BOD, or no, maybe you can't. I will share it afterwards. Not a problem. Okay, so so that they can face their fears, they can choose growth. You can even give them a motivational spiel. But the only thing that will make others reflect on their behavior and consider the possibility of taking action is when they see you face your own fears. So it's coming right back to that again, right? You being vulnerable, you being open, and you sharing about your stuff. And then it talks about leading a movement. So I liked how she talks about everybody's like, I want a fearless leader. I want a fearless leader. And she calls it like it is. She's like, a fearless leadership is now a trending topic, right? She goes, but a fearless leader is a reckless leader because they just go out and do with no thinking about consequences. No, like, I was like, oh, she goes, such leadership is uninspiring, unachievable because nobody lacks fear, right? We talked about that earlier, and puts the team at risk by setting others up for failure instead of success. So we must be able to understand our fears and assess the risks. This is what she's talking about here. I believe in brave leadership, the kind that encourages one to take calculated risks, informed by what's really at stake, and thus able to accurately determine if the potential reward outweighs the risk, right? So does that mean we get to just haphazardly go and do things? No, we need to actually think a little bit about things, but we just need to know where our fear is coming from. I think it's just being really open and vulnerable with that and going forward from there. So she then goes on to talk about how she's shared her fears on YouTube, that she went from like 100 views to 5,000 to 500,000. Like, oh my goodness, that baffles me and kind of makes my heart palpitate a little bit. Suddenly people all over the world are tagging her in videos. Like, how crazy would that be? All of a sudden you're getting people sending you stuff, telling you, this is where it comes back to telling the people how they're encouraging you, right? Because she said that she just got so much joy out of hearing how inspiring she has been, because that is one of her main reasons for doing what she's doing, is to inspire, to uplift, to encourage those to get past their fears, to face them and to move forward and to live bravely. So from different cultures, different languages, that's how it was basically born, is through social movements. So yeah, so cool how one little thing rippled out and has just become such a huge phenomenon, just a way of thinking in all reality, that we need to think more. She even talks about, but even here, she's not even like, oh, I know everything, right? She still does not have an attitude of, haha, look at me. But who am I to lead a so-called movement, right? Like, oh my goodness. She's like, I'm not a PhD. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a survivor of anything traumatic or any of that. She goes, I'm just a person who decided to go after the things she wanted the most and not let fear get in the way, right? We don't have to come from anything dramatic in order to want what we want. Some of us do. Don't get us wrong. Like, some of us have gotten into Tupperware, have gotten into our businesses because of situations that are like, oh my goodness, we need to earn some money. We got to figure something out. Some of us have not, right? But that is the joy. We all have our why in why we do Tupperware. We all hope, if you don't know your why, you need to kind of look at that, because that is where we stand strong in moving forward with Tupperware. If we know our why, if we know what we're kind of going for, having some goals, but not allowing those, she does talk about not allowing your goals to oversee you living life, right? We still need to be present in the now. We still need to enjoy the now. Yes, we need goals because those are great to look forward to. But I read, I think it might have been chapter 1, where they had to put the phone away when she was at a concert, because Richard Marx wanted her to completely be in the moment and experience the moment for that, right? I was like, oh my gosh, how many times have I been like so frustrated at my stinking phone because I have not been able to enjoy the moment because I've been trying to fiddle with it. And I was like, oh, how many moments did I miss doing that? So I loved being able to read that this morning. Yes, goals are awesome. We need goals to have something to work forward to, but don't miss the journey, because there's so much richness just in the journey. And this is part of that journey. I am so loving this book, if you can't tell. Anyway, so the ripple effect, yeah, I just love it. She talks about how it's now a community of everyday people inspiring everyday people, right? We're just everyday Joe Schmoes. And that's what I love about Tupperware. When I first started, we're going to be coming to the end here. And this is thankfully the end of this chapter. So I'm not going too far over time. But when I started Tupperware, I literally was like, nobody can earn a car. Nobody can earn a trip. Nobody can do that. No everyday Joe Schmo can earn that, right? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You take the can't out of your vocabulary. You can do anything. You can overpass any fear that you have. You can crush it, and you can get whatever you want out of this business. We are here to support you. I am loving the book club. I hope you guys will come back. Thank you for letting me host this week. And yeah, go crush some fear today. Go be a, no, I've even forgot the word. Go be a brave, fearless, not fearless, brave leader. See, that's where fearless comes in, right? Like, it's so easy to chop into a sentence. Anyway, thanks everyone. Hope you guys have a great day today.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Dana.